Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Again, hoping you guys are having a good day and that you're looking after yourselves and one another. I want to welcome you back to another episode of our top five albums of the 1990s. This time we are tackling 1994. How's it going, Bill?
It is going quite well, Armando. We are ready to do this.
There you
We're a
go.
mid-decade here.
There you go. There you go. So once again, Bill and I have chosen our top five albums of 1994 plus two honorable mentions. The honorable mentions was my pick, just to give Bill some more work to do because he gave me the top five albums. So I figured tit for tat, right? So, as is again customary with each episode, I will let Bill go first because again, my mama brought me up right. So off to Bill.
Thank you, sir. Uh, One thing that I've noticed, it's kind of started in the late 80s when we were doing those shows, but it has definitely got even more so as we get here into the 90s. There are a lot more women in my lists, a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah.
The 70s, there were very few at all. Uh, so I think that's pretty cool. I think part of that has to do with what I was exploring in the 90s musically. Part of it has to do with the music scene itself changing and more women having more access and feeling like they could be, music stars basically, which is pretty cool because there's a lot of great women out there making music. So I think that was one of the best developments of this general time frame that so many more women that may have been inspired by earlier models like, the Wilson sisters, like, any number, Aretha Franklin, Janis Joplin, blah, blah, on and on. But, they took that ball and really ran with it and became largely more than singers, also became also more players,
Yeah.
multi instrumentalists and such. So, yeah, that's one of the themes I've noticed. And it's really strong in this year in particular. Uh, there's a lot of estrogen on this list. My first one has appeared
Okay.
twice before. In fact, she was the giant slayer that beat out Roger Waters for my album of the year not too long ago. It's Mary Chapin Carpenter with Stones in the Road. This is her follow up to her big hit album, Come On, Come On. This one was also quite successful, but it was a more mature album. Uh, and there's pros and cons to that. She's a more mature songwriter here. Uh, but this is kind of more, I think, an overall consistent artistic statement. She's gotten away from some of the fun stuff, some of the weird off the wall stuff, and more away from the country stuff and into more the folky singer songwriter stuff.
Hmm.
And yeah, sonically, this album doesn't jump all over the map like the previous one did. I mean, I like that about Come On, Come On. But, so when I first heard this, it kind of bugged me a little because it didn't have quite the sonic variety. It didn't
Hmm.
have quite as many easy hooks to it. I mean, there were a few things like Shut Up and Kiss Me kind of harkened back to that older sound, but there's really serious stuff like John Doe number 24 on here.
Hmm.
Um, it's Mary Chapin Carpenter. It's almost like she had such success. She decided, you know what, I can do what the hell I want. And this is what I want to do now. And I'm not going to give, you know, the fans or the record company an easy meal. I'm going to serve them what I want to make, and more power to her.
Hmm.
I still don't like this quite as much as Come On, Come On. Obviously, that was my number one album of the year. This is only number five for this year, but it's still a wonderful album. Her voice is still magic to me, and I absolutely love this cover. It's stark and simple, just her and her guitar, and yeah, that's pretty well what the album is, more or less. I mean, there are more instrumentation than that, but it
Hmm.
kind of gives the vibe. So yeah, Mary Chapin Carpenter, Stones in the Road, my number five.
Yeah, I remember that album. Hmm. That's a good one. My number five, ladies and gentlemen, is Live with Throwing Copper. Uh, this album, when it came out, was seen to be um, their major breakthrough. Live being an alternative rock, you know, pop band. The big single off this album was Lightning Crashes. And I mean, to me, that song, kind of made the album. But I mean, there were other songs like I Alone, Selling the Drama, which those two were singles. But Lightning Crashes, the way it starts with the slow intro with the guitar, and you have the guitar sort of panning from the left to the right channel as, the first set of lyrics are being sung in the first verse. It's basically the cycle of life that's been talked about. But it's a powerful song. Other songs we know from the album are Pillar of Davidson, which is, really epic, like almost 7 minutes in length in terms of uh, the scope of the track, very, very big, very, broad. Um, have I listened to it lately? No. Actually, I mean, and they released two albums after this, and the band went into their drama situation with the lead singer leaving the band and saying, "Oh, without me, there's no band. I am the group," kind of a thing. It was another Roger Waters situation, but we won't go there.
I've gone
Um,
there a lot.
yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, it's on the list for a reason. It's at number five for a reason. There were other artists that came along later on that I turned my attention to more, but it is number five for the reason of lightning crashes. Yeah.
I've never heard an entire live album all the way through. And at this point in time, I like Lightning Crashes quite a bit, but that is the only song that I actually for sure know by them. So
Yeah.
apparently I
Well,
was missing some stuff in the 90s because I know they had more hits, but
yeah, they did. Yeah, and they're actually doing a summer tour with the Tea Party coming up.
have they got back together with the original lead singer?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they
Cash,
buried their differences. Um,
Cash comes calling.
yeah, yeah, and anyways, it's egos galore, and I mean, come on, I mean, yeah, but yeah, I mean, they are touring again, and they're doing a double bill with the Tea Party in the States, certain markets. But yeah, that's my number five, Throwing Copper. Oh, and I should also say just quickly, the album was produced by Jerry Harrison of the Talking Heads.
That I did not know. That's a I would not have imagined that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My next choice is not even remotely a commercial success.
Hmm.
In fact, yeah, I didn't have any clue this band existed until when I got online in the year 2000. And then I immediately ordered the entire back catalog because it was founded by my favorite member of Blue Oyster Cult, Mr. Albert Bichard, one of the founders who was unceremoniously removed from the band after their first 8 albums. And he's still my favorite of all Blue Oyster Cult members, and his career outside of Blue Oyster Cult has been long and varied and lots of cool stuff. But the first thing beyond the Imaginos project, which is a whole other story that BOC fans are well aware of, is this band, the Brain Surgeons. And this is Eponymous, their debut album.
I've heard of that.
This was primarily Albert and his wife at the time, Deborah Frost. And this is, there they are there. Sadly, they divorced in the first decade of the 2000s, which is a damn shame because I really liked them together as musicians. And Deborah, as far as I know, hasn't really done anything since as far as releasing music. Not that I've been able to find her. She has a very distinctive voice, but her and Albert shared the vocals on here. They both shared songwriting, and there was some plenty of old lyrics written by people like Richard Meltzer, who, of course, wrote a bunch of lyrics in the classic Blue Oyster Cult albums. Now, all these former Blue Oyster Cult members and current Blue Oyster Cult members seem to have stacks of all these lyrics that all their old lyricists wrote years ago that they can draw from. If you're looking for a Blue Oyster Cult sound here, you're not going to find it other than Albert's voice. Uh, he does play the drums on here, of course, among other things, but don't come into this thinking you're going to hear Don't Fear the Reaper, because you're not.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're a hardcore Blue Oyster Cult fan, if you like the weirdness of Blue Oyster Cult, if you like Albert's songwriting and his unique voice, which I always have, you got to check out the Brain Surgeons. If you haven't already, at least give them a shot. They are or were quite a unique band. And I did get to see them once live. Stacy and I got to see them in 2006. At the time, they had a slight name change to Brain Surgeons NYC, and at
Mhm.
that time, Ross the Boss, formerly of the Dictators, was in the band, and we got to chat with the band during the show because it was sadly lowly attended. But yeah, damn good show though. Yeah, the Brain Surgeons eponymous, and their covers all feature this same artist pretty much, who has a very distinctive style, which I think is kind of neat, very individual. So yeah,
Mm.
that's my number four.
It's a very distinct cover, that's for sure.
Yeah, yes, it is.
My number four, it's a good choice. Um, my number four is Joni Mitchell with Turbulent Indigo. She had left Geffen at this point. She just re-signed with Reprise Records. This is basically Joni Mitchell at her acoustic folk slash jazz fusion best. Songs like How Do You Stop, with which was a single, which was a duet with Seal at the time. Seal, British performer, British singer. How Do You Stop was co-written by Dan Hartman of I Can Dream About You fame. Also, for those guys who, anyone out there who likes disco, Instant Replay from 1978. Okay. Um, other songs of note are the other singles Sex Kills, The Sire of Sorrow, uh, Yvette in English, which was co-written by David Crosby. Yes, that David Crosby, one of her exes. We won't go there. Um, Sunny Sunday, which does start off the album. The Magdalene's Laundry, which is another good track. A lot of interesting chord progressions on acoustic guitar from Joni Mitchell. At this point, she was getting really frustrated with the music business because she felt that she wasn't being taken seriously as a female artist in the industry, an industry that she felt that she helped to craft and carve out in terms of women in the music business at the time. And I would have to agree. She felt that other artists like Bob Dylan were getting more notoriety, more credit than she did. And there was this big infamous situation that happened between her and Dylan. She and Dylan did not get along um, for whatever reason. Um, but, you know, if I was having an album listening party and one of my contemporaries was there and they fall asleep during listening of my album because they thought it was boring, that would piss me off too. But that's just me. I'm kind of funny like that. So it's a good album. It's very intricate, very complex, but the way they present it to you, there's also a simplicity to it, which I like. So that's my number four. Joni Mitchell with Turbulent Indigo.
The things you were saying that about Joni's frustration at that time, that pretty well is kind of ironic considering my opening comments about all the new women that were basically the progeny of people like Joni Mitchell.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
she was having trouble at that time, and all these other women were blossoming. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's all in perception, right? I mean, she felt that she wasn't being taken seriously in the industry. Um, and she paid her dues. Her personal life aside, she paid her dues. And she felt that she wasn't given enough respect. So I, it is what it is, right? I mean,
yeah.
so,
Well, I'm going to continue the theme of women. Um, this one is considerably more of a commercial success than Armando's last one, or certainly my last one. This is TLC with Crazy Sexy Cool. This was a monster hit,
go on.
big time. And it's still an absolutely great album. This is like state of the art R&B pop. I mean, mid 90s here. This stuff was all over the radio. This was when my wife Stacy and I first got together. Waterfalls in particular was a huge hit on the local R&B station in St. Louis, and we were listening to it a lot. Magic 108. And I could go into some details of well, but I probably shouldn't, about some of the things that were done to some of these songs.
Oh, no, 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 no. This is a family show. I'm not dressed for that.
Yeah, this yeah, they definitely got the crazy and the sexy and the cool all in this album. And they even have a, again, I can call back to this shirt again. They have a number by this guy. If I Was Your Girlfriend, they covered on here.
Okay.
And that was not one of the hits, but yeah.
Yeah.
Creep was another one of the hits, of course. Digging on You was a hit. Red Light Special. That's the song. Say No More. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're still married to this day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This, it has funny little. Well, they have the interlude, the intermission lude, and a couple other interludes in here in between the songs. Just little jokey spoken bits, largely.
Yeah.
Uh, and of course, you see the names: Antonio Reed, Kenneth Edmonds, and Dallas Austin. You know,
Yeah.
huge popular
LA
R&B
and Babyface.
producers and
Yeah.
Svengalis, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, this album still holds up. It's absolutely emblematic of its time, and it's still brilliant. I Yeah, absolutely love this thing. I can still put it on right now and enjoy it.
It's cool.
My number three, TLC, Crazy, Sexy, Cool.
I'm gonna need to take a shower after that intro and that description. I
I
mean,
didn't give you the whole Red Light Special story, so
okay, and that'll be the unedited version of the show. Okay. Um, my number three is, oh my God, Seal with Seal 2. Now, Seal, is a British vocalist artist that came out in the late 90s with a producer by the name of Adamski with a track called Killer. He's since signed to ZTT Records, releasing his debut album in 1991 with the track Crazy, uh, Future Love Paradise, The Beginning. Seal 2 um, carries on the tradition. He works with people such as Wendy Melvoin and Lisa Coleman from The Revolution, Joni Mitchell, um, Jeff Beck on this album. The lead up single was Prayer for the Dying, which was just brilliant. He's basically, I would call him sophisticated pop. A lot of symphonic arrangements, very mature sounding. Songs of note on the album are Bring It On, the lead off track, featuring again Lisa and Wendy from The Revolution, Prayer for the Dying, Don't Cry, which is a 6 minute and 32-second opus, which is simply breathtaking. Um, Kiss from a Rose is another single, which was also featured on one of the Batman soundtracks. Newborn Friend, sorry, is another track. He does a duet with Joni Mitchell on here called If I Could. Another song called I'm Alive, which is another, I'd say, funk dance track, but with a very powerful message. And the album ends off with Bring It On Reprise. Very underrated artist. I mean, he's released albums up until around, I say, 2006, 2007, but fantastic. Um, Kind of a very, almost has a raspy kind of a approach to his vocal, but brilliant. The albums I mentioned were produced by Trevor Horn of the Buggles, of Yes. He's worked with the Art of Noise as well, Trevor Horn. If you want a sophisticated R&B pop album, fucking get this album. I'm not joking. I am serious. I sat there many a time and literally bawled my eyes out because the message behind, especially the song Don't Cry, it's hard, but I think you'll like it. So that's my number three.
We
Seal.
discussed this. Uh, we discussed this prior to starting recording today. Uh, about how the 90s seems to be the emotional decade
Yeah,
because we keep
it
getting
is.
choked up on these episodes.
It
But
is. That's it.
we like it too. Obviously, we have two
That's
copies.
it.
So if you need
Yeah.
a copy, I have one I can get you.
Show the cover again. Show the cover. See, that's him and his bare naked glory. Okay. Um,
And
and and that's him on the back. And he is a fan of Joni Mitchell. He's a fan of singer-songwriters. And he can deliver like no one's business. And he's underrated in some spots in terms of what he can bring to the table. I think he's underrated, but he's great.
yeah, say the whole album is excellent. But yeah, of course, Kiss from a Rose was right there with Waterfalls. That was also getting played into the ground on Magic 108. We loved it. Stacy and I still have a running joke for I don't even remember how it started years ago, but anytime that song comes on, is you know what song I haven't heard in a long time? That's kind of our little inside thing with each other with Seal.
Yeah,
And yeah, I still my God, I still love singing along with that song, even though I can't really do it anymore. That baby, yeah, that I can't even begin to. Sorry, I hope I didn't break the speaker.
no, it's fine. It's fine. But even like with Don't Cry, don't be so hard on yourself. You know, the lyrics, don't be so hard on yourself. Those tears are for someone else.
Yeah,
You know, it's hard. And my dogs are barking because Bob just came home. So, but it is
maybe I
hard.
thought it might be me. I scared him.
Oh, no, 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 no. Bob does enough scaring for a lot of people. But yeah, that's my number three.
All right, yeah, that's an excellent album. All right, okay, we had just a couple years ago a giant was slain. I mentioned Mary Chapin Carpenter took down Roger Waters for the number one spot.
Yeah.
Well, another female artist is about to take down another Titan because my number two is Joe Jackson with Night Music.
You know what?
Anybody that's paid attention to any of these things knows Joe Jackson is my all-time favorite artist. So
Yeah.
he's only at number two, and I adore this album. This is a thing of beauty. It is uh, when Joe started moving away from his pop rock
Yeah.
completely for a while in the 90s, after Laughter and Lust, which was a much more traditional album. This, he got more into the classical realm,
Hmm.
but with more simplified, smaller instruments, nothing big, full orchestra or anything like that. Um,
Yeah.
you have stuff like oboe and clarinet here and there mixed in with Joe's keyboards, and you have a couple guest vocalists. Really small ensembles for each song, typically. Four of the songs are instrumentals. Nocturne 1, 2, 3, and 4. The rest are vocal songs, but even though there are identifiable melodies and some hooks on them, they're nothing like stepping out, breaking us into you can't get what you want, so
Yeah.
you know what you
Yeah.
need, that sort of thing. These are much more somber, serious songs in general. And I take the title Night Music very seriously because I used to, when I first bought this album, I used to lay in bed when I was living by myself and just put this on to go to sleep to. I'd just lay in bed in the dark and just zone out to it. And it was so soothing. And it still is. It's just a thing of beauty. This
Hmm.
shows a different side of Joe. And here we go again. It's on the Virgin label. Probably can't see that very well, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
got a theme here with all these Virgin
Yeah. By the
label
way, ladies and
artists.
gentlemen, Virgin did not sponsor these episodes. Is
No,
it?
but if you want to give us a kickback, by all means, I'm not proud.
There you go. Neither am I, but there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff if you're looking to see what Joe has done other than pop. If you just want good, sophisticated, semi-classical, yeah, art pop, basically, I guess you might call it. Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and yet it's only number two here. It blows my mind that this is only number two. I'm still questioning myself, frankly, because I love this album that much, and it was a difficult choice. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm going to put it down before I change my mind again.
There you go. There you go. Good to know. I was going to ask you, do you want to change your mind? Okay. Um, okay. My number two, ladies and gentlemen, we must carry on, is Stone Temple Pilots with Purple. Now, the, 2 years after the release of, there you go.
Keep coming back to Prince too.
Yeah, exactly. 2 years after the release of Core, uh, the Pilots are back with Purple. The lead up single Vaseline was all over Much Music in Canada when it came out. But 12 tracks, every track on this album is good. Meat Plow starts off the album. You know, they're called alternative rock, post grunge, whatever you want to call it. They're effing good. Meat Plow starts off the album. Vaseline's the second single. Interstate Love Song is the second single, which is more of like Zeppelin-esque kind of a feel on the track. Pretty Penny, the one acoustic based track. Um, uh, Unglued is another one. Loungefly. All of the tracks are hooky. Uh, they've got bounce. They've got crunch on the guitars. They got melody on all over the place, and memorable vocals from Scott Weiland. The last track, uh, kitchenware and candy bars. I found the you know the name the word switched around. I apologize, but that has always been my favorite track. Um, I saw STP open for the Stones on this tour for them, which made me buy the album. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Unglued is another fast-paced rocker. Um, but no, just amazing, amazing album, which is why it's my number two. Stay tuned for my number one. You're gonna love it.
That sounds like a threat. All right.
You
Yeah.
know, you never
Stone
know.
Temple Pilots, it almost seems like calling them grunge is almost like calling Creedence Clearwater Revival Southern rock. It's like, well, yeah, but it's kind of a geographic thing. You think grunge, think Seattle. So they were kind of an honorary member. They got thrown in with grunge, but they
Yeah,
were not from the Pacific Northwest. So
yeah,
they were kind of an odd fit in a way. They went off and did their own thing, but I could see why at the time
yeah.
thrown
Yeah.
in there.
Sure enough.
But my number one was from Seattle. And yeah, folks, you know what's coming, don't you? It's here we go with another grunge band, but it's not one of the big ones, but it's the one that should have been bigger, and eventually it got a little bigger. Ah, it's Hole with Live Through This. My God, this when this album came out, the first song I heard was Doll Parts. I was in the midst of my first marriage crumbling, and I was in a bit of a dark place, and I was by myself in this house out of town, no transportation anywhere, watching videos in the dark on TV, and Doll Parts came on. Whew, wow, it got me right off.
Mhm.
Such a powerful song. I mean, wow. It was enough. I had to own the album. That was all I needed. I got the album, and the whole thing is it's put you through an emotional ringer. This is authentic Courtney Love, but with a bit more of a pop sheen, with more hooks than had been there on Pretty on the Inside, which was a bit more of a grungy wall of sound. This is more polished, but also more powerful, I think, lyrically and musically. And
Mhm.
pretty certain Eric Erlandson, guitarist, also played a part in that sound, as he
Yeah.
always did in Whole. He is the one other vital member
Mm.
besides Courtney. Uh, all the songs are original except for Credit in the Straight World. That was the cover. But yeah, here's you got the prom queen on the front looking a bit damaged, and here's the image of the young girl on the back, which yeah, some of these songs you put them next to the picture of this young girl who I do believe is Courtney herself. I don't remember for sure, but I'm fairly certain it is.
Mhm.
Uh, you listen to these lyrics, there's some pretty disturbing shit in here,
Mhm.
but it's very powerful, very cathartic, and very much coming from a woman's perspective, which is part of what made it so powerful. Because men have been talking about a lot of this stuff forever, but unless you get into people like Patti Smith or someone like that, there's not a lot of this kind of stuff coming from women, especially not in the mainstream. So this was powerful stuff, and it still is. That's why it beat out Joe Jackson. I mean, to me, it's a perfect pop album, but it's so much more than that. And to call it pop album almost seems dismissive of it, and I don't mean it in that way at all. Uh, yeah, I still love it to this day. I don't know what else to say about it. And it's still my favorite whole album. I think it's still the best thing Courtney has ever been involved with, even though I like a lot of her other stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a mini masterpiece. It doesn't outstay its welcome. I think it's only like 35, 36 minutes, which is all it needs to be to get these 12 songs through. None of them are too long. So yeah, if you want to put yourself through the ringer, live through this.
There you go. There you go. It's a good one. My number one, ladies and gentlemen, wait for it. Pink Floyd, Division Bell. And for those of you out there watching who are gonna say it's not Pink Floyd without Roger Waters, bullshit. Okay. Um, Thanks, Bill. Um, I,
Told you we've been down this road before, didn't we? Just go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I I love this album. I think it's fantastic. I think for them to go out on this album is a good way to go out. Produced by Bob Ezrin. There was a big push for this album when it came out. You know, I like every track on this album, but I mean the songs that stand out are Cluster One, the lead off instrumental. What Do You Want From Me? Poles Apart, Marooned, um, Keep Talking, Take It Back, my favorite, High Hopes. which ends the album. I think it's beautifully crafted. I think the song sequence is just amazing because it basically tells a bit of a story, and high hopes in terms of, somebody in terms of the lyrical content, somebody looking back on their life and realizing that the childhood, um, basically they're realizing that they gave up, they lost their childhood too quickly. And, that the older you get, the more complex life gets. And you can't get it back once it's gone. So enjoy what you have in front of you when you have it in front of you, because it'll be gone eventually, sooner than you think. Um, I think that anyone that says this is not a Pink Floyd album, Roger Waters included, you're wrong. I'm sorry, it's a Pink Floyd album. It is what it is. He wanted out. They wanted to continue. He brought back, um, David Gilmour brought back Richard, Wright, um, as a fully fledged member, and he contributed. So I think it's a fantastic album. And again, those of you who think it isn't, that is only your opinion.
Where is that confounded horse?
Yeah, being in, I know, I know.
We have been down this road many times. Yes. Yeah. I give Armando crap about this, but I am a Pink Floyd fan, but I think it's no secret to anybody that watches these at all that I am a Roger Waters fan. So, yeah, I was less enthused, but I appreciate his enthusiasm for it and those who do love it. When we did our ranking a while back, which was way too epic, uh,
Yeah.
this came in only ahead of the Endless River on my ranking. So,
Oh my God. Yeah,
I mean,
I almost fell out of the chair for that one. I'm like, oh
I know a lot
shit.
of people love this album. To me, it doesn't hit me without Roger there. It's I've said I've called it oral wallpaper before. It sounds lovely, but it doesn't go anywhere for me. It blends together. It's just, but again, that's not to dismiss what Armando or anybody else appreciates about it. We all have different tastes, and yeah, we're not all going to love the same stuff. So
True enough. Like innuendo at number five.
yeah, well, yeah, I like innuendo a lot more than division belt.
Oh my God. Okay,
Much
okay,
more.
okay. Okay. Your first honorable mention.
Yeah, my first honorable mention. Okay, um, let's see. Now that I've just been shit talking Pink Floyd, I'm going to come here with this another mainstream successful R&B pop album. Oh, what kind of prog fan am I? Okay. I can't find my copy of this. Is actually one of those that Stacy and I got together because it's yet another one that in this year is getting played on our local R&B station, Magic 108. It's the debut self-titled album by Brandy. This thing was
Oh my
loaded with
God.
hits.
Okay.
At the time, the hit that was getting played alongside Waterfalls and Kiss from Rose and so many others like some Boys to Men stuff and whatnot. The big hit at that time was Broken Hearted. So that was the song that lured me into Brandy. Stacy had already been familiar with the whole album and tracks like Best Friend. Uh, this Brandy hit it out of the park on this right out of the gate with her debut. It's a if you like this kind of popular modern R&B pop stuff from the mid '90s, this is a great example of it. I mean, you probably already own this album or have owned it if this is your jam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is one of the best of its kind from that time, I think, and it was a well deserved success. So yeah, Brandy self-titled debut.
Okay. All right. Surprise me with that one. Okay. All right.
We cover all the bases here, folks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My first honorable mention is Nine Inch Nails with the Downward Spiral.
Speaking of covering the bases, yeah, we're
we've gone from Tex Avery to Liberace. Okay, in terms of, you know, this album, The Downward Spiral, I mean, Trent Reznor, the basically the main thrust behind Nine Inch Nails. I've done an album spotlight on this album last week. Got all but what, 20 views? Thank you. Um, the only other band member that's been with him the longest is Atticus Ross, who also does the bass and keyboards and programming on the album. This album was a big hit, but it was also infamous for where it was recorded. 10050 Cielo Drive in Benedict Canyon in Los Angeles, the Sharon Tate, Roman Polanski murder house, where Sharon Tate and four of her friends were butchered by the members of the Charles Manson family. Okay. This album is the concept album of a man who basically distances himself from people, from society, because he has a natural disdain and disgust for people around him, to the point where he drives himself to the point where he literally shoots himself to see if he feels any pain anymore. He's that disassociated from himself and from life around him that he is basically numb. Okay. Songs of note on the album are Piggy, March of the Pigs, Mr. Self Destruct. It is a disturbing album. It is complex. It is an erotic album in terms of the subject matter. Featured artists on this album are Adrian Belew of Frank Zappa and King Crimson fame. I wanted to add a bit of a different dimension to the list, and this is about as different as I can get. Okay, so that is my first honorable mention. Nine Inch Nails with the Downward Spiral. And I should also mention that Trent Reznor ran into, when he was out shopping one day, ran into Patty Tate, Sharon Tate's sister. And she asked him, "Are you using that house to exploit my sister and what happened with the murders?" And he said it was like a literal slap in the face, because he said it was the first time he was looking at things from the victim's perspective. And he quickly said to her, "No, that was never my intention, but thank you for opening my eyes to it." That house, after the recording of this album on Cielo Drive, was demolished. So,
Probably for the best.
yeah. Yeah. Follow that.
Brandy to Nine Inch Nails. That's quite a swing. That's, yeah. All right. Well,
Top that.
I'm definitely not going down the Nine Inch Nails path here, but I'm not going down the Brandy path either. I am keeping up my female theme though.
There you go.
I realized even, of course, the Brain Surgeons was co-led by Deborah Frost and Albert Bichard. The Joe Jackson album was the only one that has the male artist name there, but it was loaded with female players and singers primarily.
Mhm.
So even that continued. And this is also going to do the same. This is Oyster by Heather Nova. Uh, Heather Nova is kind of a cult favorite. This is yet another one I found through the CD exchange years ago. Um, Heather is not quite as angry as Courtney Love, but lyrically you can see similar themes, just not quite as raw and dark and crude as Courtney.
Yeah.
But still, this is very much this is intelligent and emotional songwriting from a woman's perspective.
Mhm.
She has a strong singing voice. Sometimes it can get a bit ethereal, like on the island. She does this ooh stuff. Uh,
Mm.
Walk This World is a great, catchy song. I want you to come and walk this world with me. And Sugar. Sugar is a great rocker and it's a powerful song. It's, sugar, sugar, you didn't come, come. Yeah, you can interpret that how you like, but yeah. Ooh,
Okay.
and the cock crows is part of the lyric. What kind of cock are you talking about, Heather? I don't know. Are we having double entendres here in these lyrics? I kind of think maybe so, based
Ain't no
on,
double entendre for me in those lyrics. I mean,
yeah, that, yeah, really, this is just intelligent, intelligent pop rock music, well crafted. Um, she's still around, still doing it. She's kind of her own kind of thing. She kind of grew up, if I recall correctly, floating around the world with her family on a boat, essentially. So she was very well traveled, and I think that helped inform her creativity quite a bit. So yeah, Heather Nova, Oyster is my final honorable mention.
oh, cool. Never heard of that one.
Really, never heard of Heather Nova in general. All right.
My last honorable mention is the Black Crowes with Amorica. They follow up to the Southern Harmony and the Musical Companion. And no, I will not be showing the uncensored cover.
As soon as you said the title, I saw the cover in my head.
Um, no, it won't
I did.
happen.
No, I don't have.
It won't happen. This was the follow-up to, album from 92. Um, the big hit from this album was A Conspiracy. Um, a good album, very layered, textured in terms of production. Um, Other songs of note on the album are the lead-off track "Gone," "Wiser Time," which was another single, "Cursed Diamond," "High Head Blues," and "Nonfiction" are the standout tracks for me. But "A Conspiracy," which was the lead-off single, is the one that really stands out for me. But yeah, I mean, this album cover garnered so much criticism and so much flack, to the point where when Rich Robinson did a interview for Much Music, he took a strip off of Lori Brown, the interviewer, for saying that, calling them misogynistic, etc. He was saying, so it's okay to see, like he literally confronted her and said, so it's okay to see on TV bodies being blown up in war scenes, but it's not okay to show, a bikini covering up a private area, you know, a skimpy bikini nonetheless, but yes, a bikini. And she's like, no, it's not right. You guys, and he took three strips off of her. Um, because he was sick and tired of the controversy. And I do believe that to an extent, the controversy took over the music on the album, right? Which is a danger when you do that kind of stuff, right? When you like the blind faith cover, you know,
As you know well.
as I know well. Um, but that is my final honorable mention. And no, we won't be mentioning the blind faith cover either. But I
Yeah.
think Bill's got a cover of it, don't you?
Actually, I don't, believe it or not.
Okay, good, good. Okay, good.
Um, yeah, the I it's a whole other show and out of the stuff well, we normally plan to talk about anyway, but I tend to agree with what he said about the cover. The societies that we live in general, where basic human sexuality is taboo,
Yeah,
just human bodies are taboo, but yeah, violence is a okay. That's always disturbed me. I'll
yeah,
just leave it there.
yeah.
I'd rather have a
No,
whole lot of bodies and sexuality rather than a whole lot of violence and killing.
you're preaching
Be
to the
pretty honest.
converted.
So,
No.
and also that cover reminded me of one of the covers by the band Flash from the early '70s, which was founded by the original guitarist from Yes.
Okay.
You
All
have to
right.
check out. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That name now that you mentioned original guitarist from Yes, that name Flash is familiar to me now. Yeah.
yeah, each of their covers was a similar controversial. One of them had the bikini, and yeah, one of them had another body. Yeah, it's same thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's always going to be some kind of controversy no matter what, you know.
And I think there was
And
even a Flora Purim album like that. Never mind. Sorry, I keep thinking that's a theme. It's not a new thing that the Black Crows did, is what I'm
no,
saying.
I know. They're not the first ones to jump on the bandwagon to do it. They were the ones that just got cindered out because of it. So all right, guys, our top five albums of 1994 plus two honorable mentions. Please put down there, down below in the comments, your top five, top two, top three, top 10 albums of 1994. I found doing this list for the 90s, it got more difficult as the years went on. But you know what? I persevered and we did it. So we're going to be presenting to you coming up 1995 to 1999. So for Bill Schuster, before I sign off, just to remind everybody, we have come up with an idea for a new Yes show. We are going to be tackling Tales of Topographic Oceans. Subtitle: Triumph or Turd? You be the judge. All right. So join us for that. That is coming up in the next few weeks. We are also going to be working on our top 30 prog tracks, an idea of Mr. Schuster's. And that show will be done in three parts, 10 tracks per episode. We are not going to do all 30 tracks in one episode. This is not going to turn into a huge Just Will Tell / Yes album in one go. We're not going to do that. So please stay tuned for that. For Mr. Bill Schuster, again, I want to thank Bill Schuster for helping me out with this episode. And
Thanks for having me.
anytime. And again, please, guys, look after yourselves and one another. For Mr. Bill Schuster, I am Armando Venditti. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye for now.